keep your eyes open.
I'm thinking about the spider, Cole. Try and do something like that again.
You're here because of the system.
And that Homo sapiens motto, let's go shopping, is the cry of the true lunatic.
In Terry Gilliam's 12 Monkeys, time travel is less about swooping in to save the day and more about clinging desperately to sanity while everything around you unravels. Imagine if Groundhog Day and the Terminator had a baby, and that baby was raised on conspiracy theories and Terry Gilliam's leftover coffee. That's 12 Monkeys, a film where time loops don't offer second chances. They just remind you how utterly doomed you are. So get ready, because this trip through time isn't about saving the world. It's about realising that the world might not want to be saved in the first place. So how do you sell a time travel movie when nobody gets saved? The origins of 12 Monkeys were about as unpredictable as the film itself. Based loosely on the French short film La Jetée, Universal thought giving Terry Gilliam the reins was a great idea, because clearly a man who made Brazil was the one to call when you wanted a clear and linear time travel narrative. Spoiler, they didn't get that. Gilliam's vision, combined with the brainpower of David and Jeanette Peoples, who gave us the joyously bleak Blade Runner, and my number one film of all time, resulted in a film where Bruce Willis got to sulk his way through time, and Brad Pitt played a character one prescription away from the Joker. The only thing missing from this mental cocktail was a sign that read, "Abandon hope, all ye who enter here." If your film set looks like the apocalypse, you know it's going well. And if you thought the world of 12 Monkeys looked grimy and claustrophobic, that's because the production itself was a bit like a post-apocalyptic scavenger hunt. Gilliam, known for pushing out his actors, and everyone else on set to their limits, was shooting in dingy metal institutions and decaying urban landscapes. The cast and crew spent weeks in what looked like the aftermath of Mad Max. Bruce Willis, tasked with looking perpetually confused and exhausted, didn't need to act much. And Brad Pitt? Well, Pitt's portrayal of Jeffrey Goines was so unhinged that he earned a Golden Globe, presumably for making everyone else feel just a bit more sane by comparison. 12 Monkeys wasn't without its controversy. French comic artist Jean Mobius Girard accused the film of borrowing heavily from his work The Long Tomorrow, particularly in its dystopian visuals. The dispute caught media attention but was settled out of court, without Girard receiving any official credit. The specifics of the agreement were kept private. Additionally, Universal Studios had its own anxieties about Gilliam's tendency to go over budget, having been burned by his previous projects like Brazil. To mitigate risk, they capped 12 Monkeys at $29 million. Despite these limitations and the legal distraction, the production forged ahead with Gilliam's eccentric vision intact. Brad Pitt's performance, reportedly enhanced by Gilliam withholding cigarettes, only added to the film's chaotic yet controlled energy. But what's the soundtrack to Losing Your Mind sound like? Of course, it's accordion music. Paul Buckmaster's score for 12 Monkeys is not just music. It's the sound of a mental breakdown, carefully orchestrated to make you feel like you're one step away from the asylum. The score mixes elements of classical, avant-garde and accordion. Yes, accordion. Because what better instrument to represent a crumbling future and a fractured mind than one that's usually heard at French street festivals? Gilliam and Buckmaster knew what they were doing, creating a sonic landscape that's as off-kilter and disorientating as the film itself. The main theme, with its quirky accordion-led waltz, plays like the soundtrack to an existential circus, fitting companion to a film where reality bends, cracks and loops back on itself. The music is both playful and unnerving, mirroring Cole's journey through time and insanity. As the plot spirals further into chaos, the score crescendos into an eerie symphony of confusion, perfectly complementing Gilliam's visual madness. If you ever wondered what a time loop feels like in musical form, Buckmaster's score provides the answer. It's as if the film's soundtrack itself is stuck in a loop, repeating, refracting and distorting, much like the film's narrative. So can you really change the future? Spoiler alert, it's not going to happen. At the heart of 12 Monkeys is a tale about trying, and failing, to change fate. James Cole, Bruce Willis, a prisoner from a post-apocalyptic future, is sent back in time to gather information about a virus that wiped out most of humanity. This virus, unleashed by a group called the Army of the 12 Monkeys, forces survivors to live underground, while the surface world belongs to the animals. Cole's mission is to gather information to prevent this catastrophe, but the more he tries to alter the future, the more he becomes part of its inevitable path. Time in 12 Monkeys is not the flexible, malleable force we see in most sci-fi. Every action Cole takes leads him closer to the apocalyptic future he's trying to stop. His memories, specifically a haunting vision of a shooting at an airport, come to define the circular nature of the narrative.
I want to stay here, this time, with you.
By the end, Cole realises that the scene he witnessed as a child was, in fact, his own death, a chilling reminder that the past and the future are forever linked in a fixed, unchangeable loop. The brilliance of the plot is in its refusal to give us hope. Every step Cole takes to save the world leads directly to the apocalypse, showing us that time isn't a puzzle to solve, but a sentence to endure. The plot twist turns and folds in on itself, making 12 Monkeys less about stopping a virus and more about understanding the futility of fighting fate. From a cast perspective, Brad Pitt steals the show, and probably some medication, but he's not the only one here. Bruce Willis does his best brooding act as James Cole, time-travelling prisoner, bearer of bad news, and all-around a victim of the future. Willis delivers his usual tortured hero, but this time without the smirk. Stripped of his usual cocky action hero vibe, Willis channels a man trapped in an endless loop, exhausted by the weight of his inevitable fate. It's bleak, yes, but entirely fitting for a film where the apocalypse feels as inescapable as his grim expressions.
Have any of you heard of the army of the 12 Monkeys? 5 billion people died in 1996 and 1997. Entire population of the world. How can I save you? This already happened. I can't save you. Nobody can.
Ocean wave.
I've never seen the ocean. I can't do anything more now. I have to go. Have a Merry Christmas.
Couldn't have hurt me.
They got your message, Catherine. They played it for me.
Then there's Brad Pitt turning the manic dial up to 11 as Jeffrey Goines, a twitchy, bug-eyed mental patient with a penchant for conspiracy theories and a general disregard for calm. Pitt's performance is like watching a heavily caffeinated squirrel, equal parts amusing and unsettling. His Golden Globe-winning portrayal added a much-needed shot of madness to the film. And if you ever wondered whether withholding cigarettes from Brad Pitt could improve his acting, well, now you know.
Drugs! What did they give you? Thorazine? Haldol? How much? How much? Learn your drugs. Know your doses. It's elementary. I'm not saying you're not mentally ill. For all I know, you're crazy as a loon. Key. Monk. Key. Shh. Look like shit.
You know this man?
Of course I know this man, Arnold Pettibone. You hungry, Arnie? It occurred to me. She knows everything I'm ever going to do before I know it myself. How's that?
You're a great man.
Fuck the bozos. Hello. Want to hear the monkey speak?
But it's not just the Pitt and Willis show. Madeleine Stowe brings sanity, at least at first, as Dr. Catherine Riley. Her role starts out as the sceptical psychiatrist trying to reason with Cole's time-travel nonsense, only to end up just as lost in the madness as everyone else. Stowe's arc, professional detachment to existential dread, adds some genuine emotional depth to a film where the plot is spinning like a washing machine. Christopher Plummer shows up to class up the place as Dr. Leyland Goines, Jeffrey's father, and the unlucky scientist whose work inadvertently helps trigger the apocalypse. Plummer's usual gravitas grounds the film's more absurdist elements, reminding us that even in a Terry Gilliam dystopia, someone needs to take things seriously. It's a role that exudes authority, but with just enough obliviousness to make you wonder how anyone thought tampering with viruses could end well.
Maybe we ought to review our security procedures.
David Morse as Dr. Peters gives us the calmest villain you'll ever see. The kind of soft-spoken scientist who drops viruses and ends civilization with the same energy you'd use to ask for a cup of tea. His cold clinical performance adds a chilling layer to the film, especially when his character faces off with Cole in the airport, in a scene that all but screams, "Yep, humanity's doomed." And let's not forget the supporting players. Frank Gorshin, playing Dr. Fletcher, embodies the psychiatric establishment's firm grip on disbelief, waving away Cole's time-travel tales like he's talking about aliens.
The possibility that he could kill you too. You're under tremendous emotional stress.
Oh, for God's sake, Owen, listen to me.
No way he could possibly know that. Catherine, you're a rational person. You're a trained psychiatrist. You know the difference between what's real and what's not.
Meanwhile, John Cena as Jose, Cole's future comrade in misery, adds some extra tension by reminding us that even in the future, Friends are just there to make sure you follow orders. And Simon Jones, yes, the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy's Arthur Dent, pops up as the zoologist, part of the future's delightfully bureaucratic team of scientists who seem as confused about Cole's mission as Cole himself. Free will? Yeah, good luck with that theme. One of the most fascinating themes in 12 Monkeys is its brutal treatment of free will, or rather, the lack of it. Cole is sent back in time to change the future, but every action he takes only solidifies the outcome. This isn't the time-travelling heroism of Back to the Future or the Terminator. This is a grim, deterministic loop, where all roads lead to the same inevitable apocalypse. The film's treatment of time as a closed loop reflects a terrifying philosophy. We may think we have choices, but our fates are already sealed. Gilliam pushes this theme further with the recurring motif of madness. The characters in 12 Monkeys are constantly questioning their own sanity. Cole is unsure if his time travel is real or if he's trapped in a delusion. Jeffrey's rantings about conspiracy theories might sound like nonsense, but in the twisted world of 12 Monkeys, there's always the uncomfortable sense that maybe, just maybe, he's onto something. The line between reality and insanity is razor thin, and the film leaves us questioning how much of what we see can be trusted. Memory is another central theme. Cole's flashbacks to his childhood trauma and mysterious airport shooting are fragmented and unreliable, twisting in on themselves as he tries to piece together the truth. But memory, much like time, is treacherous, and Cole's attempts to understand his past only lead him deeper into confusion. The film presents memory not as a reliable guide to the past, but as a shattered mirror, reflecting distorted and incomplete images of reality. 12 Monkeys is a meditation on the futility of fighting fate. It's a film that leaves you with more questions than answers, reminding us that time and sanity are fragile constructs, easily broken and impossible to mend. Before we get completely lost in the looping madness of fate, it's worth stepping back and seeing how 12 Monkeys fits into the grander vision of Terry Gilliam's dystopian trilogy. Brazil was the bureaucratic nightmare of a man crushed under the weight of red tape. 12 Monkeys shows us a future where we're all trapped in a time loop, helpless to change the past or the future. If this kind of existential dread sounds like your cup of tea, like the video. It's free, and don't forget to subscribe as we close out this dystopian triptych with a Zero Theorem, where nothing makes sense, and that's kind of the point. Now, it would appear that audiences love a good existential crisis, and critically, 12 Monkeys hit all the right notes. Bleak, confusing and thought-provoking, but with enough dystopian flair to keep viewers hooked. Brad Pitt's unhinged performance earned him a Golden Globe, and the film's narrative twists kept people coming back for more, trying to untangle the mind-bending plot. Financially, it performed well, proving that there's always an audience for a good existential crisis wrapped in a time-travel bow. Now, 12 Monkeys didn't just end with its credits, it became a cornerstone of dystopian sci-fi, inspiring a TV series and influencing everything from Dark to Westworld. Its portrayal of time as a fixed, unchangeable loop has left its mark on the genre, and its themes of fate, madness and the futility of free will continue to resonate with audiences. Time travel has never looked so grim, and we're all still caught in its loop. So are we all doomed? Probably, but it sure is fun watching it unfold. 12 Monkeys doesn't offer the comforting reassurance we expect from time travel narratives. There's no heroic last-minute save, no clever twist where the future is rewritten for the better. Instead, it leaves us with a haunting, cyclical narrative where fate plays puppet master, and all our grand ideas of free will are reduced to a tragic farce. What makes the film so enduring is precisely this bleak vision of the human condition. It forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about our place in the universe. Are we all just cogs in an inescapable machine? Or do we ever truly have the power to change the course of events? Terry Gilliam's masterpiece holds up, not just because of its genre-bending approach to sci-fi, but because it taps into something more primal. We all fear losing control, whether it's control over our lives, our minds, or the world around us. 12 Monkeys takes that fear and weaves it into every frame, reminding us that the chaos we try so hard to resist might just be inevitable. Yet despite all the doom and gloom, 12 Monkeys is an exhilarating ride. Gilliam's visual madness, combined with standout performances from Bruce Willis and Brad Pitt, ensures the film is as entertaining as it is thought-provoking. It's a movie that revels in its own complexity, daring you to keep up with the labyrinthian plot and thematic depth. And even if you can't untangle every thread, there's a perverse satisfaction in knowing that maybe, just maybe, you were never meant to. As with many of Gilliam's films, 12 Monkeys leaves us questioning everything, From the nature of time to the reliability of our own perceptions, it's a cinematic puzzle that refuses to be solved. But that's exactly what makes it so compelling. In the end, we might all be stuck in our own loops, endlessly trying to change the unchangeable. But at least we have films like 12 Monkeys to keep us entertained while we do. So are we doomed? Probably. But if we are, at least we can go out with a sense of irony and a twisted smile, knowing that we're just as trapped by time as James Cole was. 12 Monkeys isn't just a film about time travel, it's a meditation on the madness of trying to outrun fate.